Gundam.
Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Man at YouTube with another model video. Building the Bandai high-grade Wodom Pod Maze mobile suit from Build Fighters, modifying and painting it to be the 1/300 scale Turn A variant. Released during 2020 for around 3,000 yen when I bought it. It is a recent release of a refreshing design. 8 coloured styrene and ABS runners, no polycaps. Small set of foil stickers and a full coloured comprehensive instruction sheet, including a small clear articulated base. The kit is built for having exceptional colour separation, decent articulation, transformable into a mobile armour, pretty much can replicate any scene from the animation. The instructions have a wealth of knowledge, tips on building the kit, the instruction guide, colours for painting if you choose to, in English and Japanese with handy tips and transformation sequence. The build process will proceed with standard scale modelling methods, including the double cut technique to remove the parts off the tree, trimming it further down with a knife and sanding it flat with a range of sandpaper. I'm not worried about getting it perfectly smooth as it will be microfill primed and painted later on. Majority of the parts are relied on being plastic cemented together instead of relying on the snap fit function to keep it all together. The panels were deepened even further with a scribe for that really heavy line art effect from the original animation and the Sid Mead artwork. As well received as this kit was among snappers and scale modelers, the build is extremely straightforward and lacks any sort of challenge, complexity or lengthy amount of time to build, but it is very rich with all sorts of deep, interesting crevices and detail with many different forms of functions, gimmicks and articulation. With the lack of polycaps also means the lack of seams. Not much putty is required, but you do have to be careful of some of these joints. A broken peg can be quite devastating. I did snap 2 of them, nothing a pin vise and drill can't fix. Not much really to say besides its unique shape. It doesn't feel like Gunpla or a Gundam project. If you're not worried about painting or cleaning up nubs and sanding, you'll probably have it finished in 20 minutes. But due to the lack of information, photos and footage of the Wodom from Turn A, I had to spend quite a bit of time tracking down reference pictures and reconfirming it with this existing 3D imagery in the instructions and the model itself. The animation is a bit unreliable and the proportions are different from line art to pictures from the animation that I could track down with a whopping 4 different colour schemes. I didn't want to go as far as re-watching the whole show, but found an iconic look that was close enough. I do very much enjoy a kit with very deep detail. They're the most fun to paint. With the final assembly, the kit is remarkably well at balancing and holding various different poses. The weaponry is very interesting and deep. All the transformations are easy to achieve. I started chopping up the side armor of the guns to get the Turn A look and did a bit of filling with putty. Some styrene work to thicken out some of the parts that I felt were just too shallow and broke it all down ready for painting. There was also a runner with additional armor parts for a later look from the Build Fighters series. Turn A is a really out there series, and these are the 4 images I came across as ultimate reference. All the parts were separated in various bags and each group of parts were added to alligator clips with paint selected out. As I did virtually almost no sanding or work, some of them just went straight to metallic black undercoat, skipping the primer stage as lacquer does eat into and etch into plastic, but Bandai plastic is also already very smooth and super glossy if you're going straight to metallics. It's two-tone, either a white color or various shades of gold, brass and whatnot. I selected about 4 or 5 different gold, brass and related colors and shaded them about 3 tone parts, selecting them into 4 collection of parts, and things like the joints going much heavier in the copper brass side, and other areas being either a realistic or cartoony gold, with various different shades and patterns of shading it and bring out definition and effect. Once it's snapped and added all together, it gives it quite a bit of variety to look at it. I was very playful with areas like large circles, where I'd colour those in the shading process rather than a top-down shadowing light source. It is also very, very detailed panels and detail, so once the lacquer paint dried and chemically hardened over a few days, I'd hit it with a Tamiya accent colour sludge wash to bring out all of those lines to light and provide in definition. Being metallic is also very shiny, so once everything dried on top of that, I hit it with automotive clear to create as gloss effect as possible, and a final coat of floor polish for a deep wet look shine. The white components, I've really rattled my head hard trying to consider how I was going to do it. It's very dark and has heavy lines and almost dirty weathered, but it's not, and opted by blending a mix of grey, white and silver for a very bizarre changing of shade and tone. Then I've hit it with sludge wash to get all of those panels and touched up the edging with a weathering pencil for that hard animation cell look. Turn A was one of the last of the Gundam anime series that was hand painted and drawn via cell, and not so much the CGI computer generated, and it gave it a very rich and lived in pastel-y, almost fantasy like world, and bringing in a Western designer and different alternative take by Sid Mead really rocked the world and brought out some super fascinating and iconic for its time designs. Spent more time thinking than painting, and it was very staggered, so there was ample amount of time for drying and hardening. Once all the components were done, it was slowly assembled using PVA glue to join all the parts together, and finally snap fitted, not leaving any fingerprints or damaged paint chipping behind. I'm a fairly decent fan of Turn A Gundam, much more enjoy the aesthetic and the world building. My favourite kits were definitely the 2000 releases of the 1144 no grades, which was the height of no grades, the Turn A, Turn X, Kapul, and Mobile Flat, almost simplistic high grades in themselves. They are well proportioned and deep in detail, much like this kit, but it almost feels that everything that comes out of the Turn A line is very rich in attention to detail and is just a wonderfully engineered kit. We haven't seen much for a while besides the Master Grade Turn X, but this is a real exciting offering, even though it's out of universe. This build was not overly difficult, but it was a lot of fun, and I had a chance to be extremely creative and playful in creating this finish. It's unique to my style, but it's also clearly a Turn A variant. No serious errors or mistakes were made, and I don't feel any aspect of it is particularly sloppy. Pretty solid finish. 100% regardless of your intent, build divers or Turn A, highly recommend this kit, and I would go as far as put some work in it, put some paint into it. It is so much fun and would be a complete shame to just let it sit in bare plastic. Maybe even your own imaginative custom or a competition piece. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay tuned for further content. Please check out the description section down below for reference and social media links. This concludes the video, and thank you very much.